I want to start by distinguishing between two things that often get confused: emotional unavailability people and emotional immaturity. Emotional unavailability is often more intentional, a choice to keep emotional walls up. Emotionally immaturity is different. Is a developmental limitation. The person genuinely lacks the emotional skills that healthy adult relationship requires. They are not necessarily trying to hurt you. They are simply have not developed toolkits that will allow them show up differently, which makes being in a relationship with them simultaneously confusing and painful. Because they can be wonderful in many ways, loving even, but when things get emotionally complex, they fall apart. And you end up feeling like you did something wrong. Today, I want to talk about what emotional immaturity actually looks like, why it hurts so much, and what you can actually do about it. So, what does emotionally immaturity actually looks like in practice? The first sign is an inability to take accountability. When something goes wrong, the emotional immature person or people cannot genuinely own their parts. They deflect, they minimize, they turn it around, they apologize without any real understanding of what they are apologizing for, just to end the discomfort. Genuine accountability are understanding. They will say, okay, I understand how my actions affected you, I take responsibility. Here is how I want to do things differently. It's extremely difficult for emotional immature people. The second sign is poor emotional regulation. When things get tense, they escalate, they shut down, they storm off, they say things they can't take back. Their emotional responses are often disproportionate to the situation because they lack the internal infrastructure to tolerate strong emotions. The third sign is difficulty with empathy in conflict. They may be capable of empathy in calm moments, but in conflict, when they are implicated in your pain, the empathy disappears. Because in that moment, their own discomfort is so overwhelming that there is no bandwidth to consider yours. The fourth sign is a fragile ego. Criticism. Even gentle, constructive criticism is experienced as a devastating attack to them. They can't distinguish between you addressing a behavior and you attacking their entire personhood. The fifth sign is inability to sit with relationship discomforts. When the relationship hits difficult patch, they want to resolve it fast, even if the resolution is superficial, or they avoid it entirely because the discomfort of unresolved tension is more than they can tolerate. Now, why does this hurt so much? Because when you're in a relationship with an emotional immature person, you end up doing enormous amounts of emotional labor that they are unable to do for themselves. You manage their reactions so they don't get triggered. You hold back your needs so they don't feel overwhelmed. You do the work of accountability for both of you. And you end up exhausted and often blaming yourself. Because the message you receive, implicitly or explicitly, is that if you just communicated better or needed less, or approached things differently, it would work. But here is the truth. You cannot compensate for someone else's emotional immaturity with enough skill on your part. So what can you actually do? The first thing is recognizing it for what it is, not personalizing it. Understanding that this is a development limitation, not a verdict on your words. The second thing is getting very honest about your expectations. Emotionally immature people can change, but change requires awareness and willingness. And most emotional or immature people don't have either. What is realistic possible about in this relationship, given where the other person is, not where you hope they will get to? The third thing is addressing your own patterns. Because we often find ourselves in relationships with emotionally immature persons or people for a reason. Sometimes it's familiarity, sometimes it's the caretaking instinct. What is it for you, and what does it say about your own needs and wounds? The fourth thing, and this is the hard one, is making a decision about whether this relationship, its current form, is sustainable for you. Whether you can accept the limitation without resentment. That is the deeply personal decision, but it needs to be an honest one. I want to close with this. You deserve a relationship where you don't have to manage the other person's emotional responses in addition to your own. Where accountability flows both ways, where your feelings don't have to be carefully packaged to avoid the defensive reaction. That is not too much to ask. That is the baseline. Drop mature in the comments if you are committed to choosing an emotional person going forward, and share this with someone who has been confused about why relationships keep feeling this way. I will see you in the next one.